I have with me Paul Allen. He's from Margin Partners, and we're going to be talking about maintaining profit in a side hustle as you move from a part-time to a full-time business. Paul, welcome to Dollars with Sense.
Thank you, Dallas.
What's a side hustle?
A side hustle is that hobby you do or that natural thing you're good at, which you can see opportunity to grow into a revenue stream or a business of some sort.
So I'm a school teacher, for example, and I've got my, I was going to say 9 to 5, so I'd probably be saying 9 till 3:30 job. Am I being cheeky saying that? I'll say 8 till 6 then.
Nice,
Just
nice.
How's that?
Yes.
So I've got my 8 to 6 job as a school teacher, and at 1 minute past 6 I start doing a little bit of extra tuition of students that from another school, of course.
Yes, yes.
Not my own that I haven't
region.
been able to teach properly, but from another region, and it's English. And English teachers normally get, let's say, $100 an hour, and I'm charging $50 an hour. What's the trials and tribulations of doing something like that?
Well, there's many in the initial stages, but it's all about actually starting with the basics. It's laying a foundation. So how much time do you want to devote to this? How much cost are you going to incur in travelling to tutor or having people come to you and having a room set aside? The biggest part is knowing your cost to serve the customer. And they could be, as I said, travel or energy or rooms or materials. You need to anchor down what it's going to cost you, because if it's $50 an hour or $100, you need to have an eye on your margin from day one. So know your costs, know your price, and believe you can sell to that price, and then have a margin in mind that you're going to hold to all the way through. Okay. You start with that foundation.
So let's say that you're a stationery salesperson then. As your side hustle,
right?
So that there's a product rather than a service involved.
Yes.
You're buying your pens for $1 and you're selling them for $2. Is that enough? Those types of things.
Well, it's good to actually look at it like this. You start beyond the money with your lifestyle and your time. How much time a week do you want to allocate to this side hustle? If it's only 2 hours a day, 1 day a week, then you want to say, well, for that amount of time I spend, what's the minimum amount I want to make? So before you do anything, it's about saying, what is this truly worth to me? If it's just a hobby and it's going to distract you and not bring enough income, then you've got to work out if that's truly a hustle and it's going to take you anywhere. But start with saying, I want to do this because I want to make an extra $100 a week, and then work it back. If it's $100 a week and I'm only going to do 2 hours 1 day a week, it has to be $50 profit. Do you believe you can make that? How many customers would you need to see? Work it back, and that's what a business case is.
So these days we'd have to set up a business as a sole trader. We may or may not, depending on how much it was.
Yes.
We may need a website.
Yes.
It's now going to cost us more money at the accountant.
Yes.
If it's stationery, it's how heavy are the boxes. So
yes.
It may very well be an insurance issue, personal insurance, or it may if I need a little bit more stock, it might be general insurance because I need to insure that stock.
Yeah.
And whether it's flammable, etc., etc. So there's lots of things involved in ascertaining how much it's going to cost me to make that $100 a week.
That's right. And those things are really great points to make, because those things can destroy a business very quickly. And this is why the most important thing to do is to do a test case or a test model to say, do you believe with the founding principles of your business, i.e. how much time you're going to put into it, how much it's going to cost to run, do you believe that will give you enough customers and revenue to make the thing viable? Do not jump in too early. Gather friends together on a Saturday afternoon, put on a barbecue, feed them and say, here's my model, here's what I'm proposing, give me feedback. Do you think that would work? Testing first is so vital, and big companies do that with all their products before they go to market. Test case.
The value proposition.
The value proposition. That's very important.
Yes.
The principle is, are you going to be an all-you-can-eat, or are you going to have tiered offerings? And when I say this, I mean some people start a side hustle and then suddenly they get some demand and they're willing to do anything, and they suddenly find those 2 hours 1 day a week exploding into 8 hours 3 days a week. If you don't lock down how much you're willing to give at what price, you can find yourself drawn in many directions, and that can compromise your lifestyle, your relationships, and your money. So the value proposition says I'm going to anchor what I do to this type of service in these times at this price with the belief I'm going to make this margin. It's about having a roadmap.
Paul, in your travels doing this for a living, what are some of the things that you see happen that are, if you like, traps for the unwary?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, the big traps are people jump in too early without doing the due diligence. I mentioned the barbecue before, without testing or researching enough about what they're trying to convert from a hobby into a revenue stream. So the principles again is testing and actually ascertaining whether this can really fly. I see about a third of people who kick this off make it work. They've done the research, they've prepared their business plan, if you like, and they go forward with it longer than 12 months. But 2/3 will probably stumble or actually go back and reboot because they need to tweak the time or the cost and make sure they're protecting their margin.
Isn't that fantastic? A third.
A third.
That's a lot.
It's exciting. This is the way forward.
Do you see that third turning into full-time work, or a third keeping a really strong side hustle going?
The general principle is a third of the third
Yes.
actually convert over 2 to 3 years into a, if you like, a business of their own.
So starting out, your idea of the side hustle, part-time work, we need to ascertain, are we doing it to roll into a real business, or are we going to keep it as a side hustle?
Yes.
From day one, you're suggesting that.
Have a vision of where you want to go, I think. I mean, some people say, look, I just want to try it, I want to test the waters. It's a scary thing to do, to think about maybe leaving full-time employment
Yes.
and doing your own thing. And you mentioned before all those other costs and responsibilities that come with it. I find a lot of people just want to test the waters, give it 12 months, see how it impacts the family, the golf, the football, other things they like doing, just to get a feel for what that world would be like. People sometimes find the grass isn't greener on the other side,
Yes.
so they go back to what they know, but they never get tired of that little bit of extra income in a company structure or some other format.
And there's nothing like being a bit of an entrepreneur. It puts a bit of bounce in your step.
I think so. I think it's the Australian way. We, have some heroes in our past in the Aussie culture. Some we want to emulate, some we don't. But I think we all have that aspiration in some shape or form to do things on our terms.
Paul, thank you.
Thank you, Dallas.